Hi, I'm Michael Holleman, Culinary Director, and with me today, I have Coleen Donnelly, our K-12 corporate chef.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, today we're going to be making a one-pot dish which is called beef deep dish chili. It utilizes our Ruby Wild blend, which is a whole grain blend, 100% whole grain. We've made it familiar to kids. We've put whole grains in a familiar setting, which is chili, and all kids know what chili is. We're also using some commodity products in today's dish. How about if we get started?
Absolutely. Looks like you have all of the traditional chili ingredients.
Absolutely, here they are. We've got some diced onions. If you don't have the capacity to dice onions in your kitchen, your produce provider can, I'm sure, give you some pre-diced onions. Same with garlic. This is chopped garlic. It comes already chopped for you. This is just olive oil. You can use whatever oil you've got.
Vegetable oil, canola oil. They all work great.
I'm heating this in a pan so that we can saute the onions and garlic together. There are options around this if you don't have a stovetop to use.
Right. I've been in schools where we just line up the assembly line, get all the ingredients in there, cover them, in the oven they go. And that works fine, but if you have the ability to go through this step in the oven, combine these ingredients just like you're doing, and in the oven for about 10 minutes and you start to get that caramelization.
Sure, there are options if you're limited with your equipment. Really, you could put all of these ingredients into a hotel pan, cover it and put it in the oven, and you'd actually end up with a pretty decent product.
Yeah, it's already smelling great. Really get the aromatics going.
Yeah, we're sweating these onions and garlic, and to them we are adding some tomato paste. This is a very common product. It's very concentrated. It has a lot of deep tomato flavor, which you're going to need. I'm going to stir this up a little bit and combine it with the onions. And what's going to happen as I'm cooking this out? What's going to happen is that the tomato paste is going to darken a little bit, and that's very important. That adds a really nice caramelized flavor.
So we got the chili powder going in. Today we're using a sodium-free.
Today we are using a sodium-free product, which means that we are going to be adding salt to the dish. If you're buying a chili powder that has salt in it, be very mindful of that. You might want to reduce the amount of salt that you're adding.
Yeah, they all vary a little bit. Just read the ingredients.
My next ingredient that I'm adding is brown sugar. There's not a lot of it. This is not intended to be a sweet dish. We're only adding a little bit of brown sugar because we've caramelized the tomato product, and that'll bring out the natural sweetness. But really, the flavor of brown sugar is pretty important to a chili.
Yeah, it balances the acids, really rounds everything out.
Exactly. So since our chili powder does not have salt in, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. We're being very mindful of the new sodium requirements that we are facing. And this is just a little bit of ground black pepper.
All right. And so now we're going to move into combining all the ingredients. Once you have this well caramelized and mixed, you're going to be adding the stock to it.
I'm just adding stock. You would add your stock cold for these purposes. I've heated the stock.
Right. And that's a beef stock you're adding today.
Right. It's a low sodium beef stock.
All right. And so to that, we're going to take that, combine with the rice, and then we have kidney beans, we have some diced tomatoes, and then the pre-cooked beef crumbles.
Great. Let's talk about the rice.
Yeah, so today we're going to use our Ruby Wild blend, and this is, of course, 100% whole grain.
It is.
And that's what we're doing in schools now. And we have a little easy tear notch on each of the 2-pound bags. It's important to know, so it doesn't have to be a mess in the kitchen when you're tearing open bags. But we're going to go ahead and add.
Let's talk about what kind of rice we have.
Yeah. So this has 5 different grains in it. We start with the long grain parboiled brown rice, and then we've added our Calasari red rice. We have a sprouted red rice, a sprouted brown rice, and just a little bit of wild rice in the end. And so it gives it a lot of nice depth in texture and color, but not too much. The kids really have embraced the whole grains from what I've seen.
They have, and the sprouted rices give it a nutritional punch that you really won't find in just regular brown rice.
Right, so whether it's 1 pan or a dozen pans that we've lined up, depending on how many kids we're serving today, it really is quite simple at this point.
Right, we're building one pan. You could easily explode the recipe and go down as assembly line style and cook for 1,000 if that's what you were doing.
Right. So I usually start just adding in the remaining ingredients. We have the kidney beans, the beef crumbles,
Yep.
and we have a little bit of the diced tomato going in now.
A little more tomato product. If your kids don't like chunky diced tomatoes, tomato sauces.
Because oven space is a
Because of
premium.
oven space, right?
And I have to admit, the first time I saw this recipe, I didn't think it was all going to fit, but it absolutely does.
I assured him it would, and it did.
All right, so adding in the stock, at this point, we're just going to mix this up, stir, make sure all the ingredients are well blended.
As we say, if you don't have the capacity to do all of this heating, preheating, all these ingredients could go in the pot cold, and you would end up with chili. It would just take about a half an hour longer to cook.
All right, so now everything's well blended. We're going to go ahead and add our parchment paper, which is a very important step. Why do we do that?
You add parchment paper because since this is so full, the tomatoes would eat right through the foil if you didn't.
Yeah, any of those acids.
Any acid, yeah.
All right, so we have our one pot meal ready to go in the oven for about an hour.
About an hour. We're using a convection oven. If you have a slower oven or a faster oven, your time may vary. But whole grains are very forgiving when you cook them.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you overcook them, it's not the end of the world. And here it is, our baked whole grain chili.
Great, let's take a
Let's
look.
have a look.
All right, so looks like we have a little bit of moisture on there still, which is great. Even though this is going to go directly into the steam table for us, it's nice to have that little extra moisture to help hold it if it were to go into the warmer.
Sure. Sure, these hold beautifully. If you've got a couple of different, many different pans going, you might want to stagger the start time of them. But if your lunch service is short enough, these will hold beautifully in the warmer if that's what you need to do.
Right, and usually I'll take a rubber spatula, mix them up just a little bit to get everything blended well. This looks and
looks
smells
great.
fabulous. And I use a rubber spatula because the metal spoons tend to kind of break up the grains a little bit, and higher starch release, then it kind of becomes a little bit more sticky than you would like, especially if you're going to hold for a bit.
It's beautiful.
So there we go.
It's beautiful. So a couple of things you can do with this. Kids love choices, right? And they like to customize their meals. So
Right.
think about something like a toppings bar where you could put shredded cheese on it. This is low enough in fat, you can get away with that. Diced onion, some jalapenos, make it a little spicier. Or
Yep.
we've got this great cilantro yogurt sauce that Mike's
Absolutely.
gonna make.
Yeah, and I love this recipe. So simple, 6 ingredients. We start with just a low-fat or non-fat yogurt. And then we add in some fresh lime juice. That's not always an option, so of course the bottled is just fine.
Fine.
We have a little bit of cumin added. Just a touch of cayenne.
Or more if your kids like more spice.
Right, right. And then we have some fresh chopped cilantro. And just a little bit of salt to finish it off.
Right.
And just a quick mix. And really what we have is a great substitute for sour cream that you might see served as an accompaniment with a standard chili.
Sure. Let's
All
dish
right.
some up.
There we go. It's just very simple. So we call it deep dish chili. It's not your traditional chili where you would see a lot of liquid in the bottom. And it's really nice. It has some body to it, holds up well. A little bit of that cilantro yogurt on there to top. And there we have it.
There you have it. For this and other recipes, please visit us online.